Hey otakus, it's your tour guide here, and just hoping you're enjoying your 4th of July weekend. Yeah, I mean it got cold again here in Seattle. It's cloudy and it's not raining all that much. It's kind of sprinkling, but the temperatures are really, I think it hit like 50 or 60 today. It was the high. Um, it's probably going to be dipped down in the 40s today, and we're in July, so it's a strange summer. I know everybody's experiencing heat wave, but here in Seattle, we've, I guess, been blessed with some very mild weather, and it's been like that. We've only had like a stretch, maybe a 3 or 4 day stretch where it's been over 80 degrees. Mostly it's been highs in like low 70s, mid 70s, and cool. Yeah, so hoping it does warm up though. But yeah, today is going to be a fun video. So what I'm going to do today is we're going to focus on my favorite artists, my favorite comic book artists, my 10 most favorite comic book artists. And I guess covering these artists, we're going to look at the best book by that artist I have in my collection. So 10 books I have in my collection. We're going to go up the list, and then we're going to come back down with 10 books by those artists that I want to add to the collection. So 10 in my collection, and also 10 by those same artists that we're targeting and we want to add. We have on our want list. So it'll be a fun video. And I just wanted to mention some stuff about the list itself. Now, again, these are the 10 artists that I think are my favorite artists. Now, I have a lot of people I collect and favorite artists. And I know everybody's, preferences for favorite artists are different. But kind of like where this group of artists are for me are people, most of them I grew up reading. So you're going to see a lot of people who are sort of like, late bronze, copper, and some modern artists here. People, again, I've read, I collected, I just kind of engaged with at a very young age their artwork, and just have always thought their books were, their works of art and their books were always great. And then of course a lot of the artists even beyond this list, like the people that didn't make the top 10, even those artists are within that time frame as well. So again, this list is always in flux, it's always changing. But in terms of the person at the top of my list, all of you know who that person is going to be. I don't think I have to necessarily state out loud. But outside of that one individual, the rankings kind of vary, and people pop in the top 10, people pop out of the top 10 all the time. So this is just sort of a snapshot of the top 10 artists who I think are most deserving of, like the mantle of like best comic book artists. And so it's going to be a list. Everybody has their own preferences, and it's going to be a list a lot of people disagree with, but I'm just kind of expressing who I like, and hopefully you have an opinion here or there, whether you agree or disagree. Feel free to comment below and let me know if there are artists that you think deserve to be on the list. I'd love to hear it. But for the most part, again, these are the artists that I connect with, and the books I want to, and the artists whose books I want to collect more of. Before we get to the books, though, I do want to. I had this Lego set that I've been kind of saving for when my kid got old enough. And I thought he was old, and he can play with this, but again, it's a very delicate thing. So even though we played with it a little bit today, and he did a very good job of not, wrecking it at 3 years old, which I think is pretty cool. But yeah, I built this X-Wing. It's pretty cool. Lego X-Wing. It took me a day to put together, but the R2's out here because we put the R2 in his bath, my son's bath. Luke isn't there though. And yeah, use the Force, Luke. Trust me, Luke. And who doesn't love Star Wars? Star Wars is just awesome. Okay, so getting to the list. Here we go. I'm going to share my screen. This is going to be fun. So in putting this list together, again, these are sort of like people like, artists, again, whom I collect. And we're going to go up the list and focus on the books in my collection, sort of the representative books that I think are the best in my collection by this artist. And then we're going to go down the list again and focus on books by that artist that we want to add to the PC. So books that we're targeting by these artists that we want to add. So we'll start here. Number 10, Michael Turner. This is just a great cover. Now I'm just gonna focus on showing photos and not, dig out my books, because ultimately you're just looking at that cover anyway. This is Justice League of America, Michael Turner. I believe this is a book that he just did the cover for, but a great piece here. Imagine you were just defeated by the Trinity, and they're just standing over your dying body, looking over you like this. That's what makes this cover just so awesome. There's definitely sort of a menacing, that's definitely a menacing pose to have three just, large figures looming over you. But that's what he achieves. Yeah, he's really somebody that, went before his time. And unfortunately, we have his art, a wonderful art legacy in comic books. And so looking to add more Michael Turner books definitely to our collection. Okay. And then next on the list, our number 9 artist is Marc Silvestri. Marc Silvestri. So if we're talking Jim Lee obviously is my favorite artist of all time. But, you've got to look at that history of artists who left Marvel, right? Jim Lee, Todd McFarlane, Rob Liefeld, Marc Silvestri, Will Portacio, Eric Larson, and I'm missing, I forgot his name. But anyway, there's just a core of artists there who created a lot of buzz and news. Now, whether all of those artists are equal in terms of talent, that's something to be debated. And a lot of people did not make this list. And, there's a lot of runner-ups to the list, a lot of honorable mentions. For example, Greg LaRocque didn't make the list, but he's another one of my favorites. John Boy Myers, David Nakayama, Art Adams, Barry Windsor Smith, Alex Ross, Greg Capullo. These are all great artists who, on any given day, could definitely be on the, one of my favorite artists. But I had to narrow down the list to the top 10, my most favorite. And Mark Silvestri definitely makes that list. And he's among that core who I believe is, has immense talent in that core. Now, don't get me wrong, Todd McFarlane is great, but I don't think he's one of the best artists of all time. And that's just my opinion. A lot of people love Todd McFarlane, they love collecting him. He's got a lot of great iconic books and covers and whatnot. And he has a very unique art style. But in terms of, I think, just overall ability and talent, like McFarlane will be the first to tell you, like, he had to cheat to get around, the sort of, his inability to follow some of the big boys. And the big boys in his mention are guys like Jim Lee and guys like Mark Silvestri. So he's the first one to admit he's not the most talented, but that's not to say he's not a talented artist. He's absolutely talented. It's just, I feel like McFarlane, he is a favorite, but he's not in that upper echelon of favorite artists. So for me, Mark Silvestri makes that list. And this comic here, X-Men 251, my goodness, it's just the purple, the base of skulls, that rain in the background, and just that X, Generation X. I mean, X was everything in my generation, right? I'm Gen X. X was everywhere. This sort of captures that sentiment of the, early 90s. I believe this came out in, I was 89. So this late 80s, early 90s book capturing the essence of Gen X. Okay, moving on. Mark Silvestri. Peach Momoko, number 8. I've gone over many times why Peach Momoko is a genius. Her art style is absolutely in a class of its own. Like, literally, like, she just hands down, like, a million times better than. Why isn't she higher on my list? As good as her, art style and innovative as she is, she's still relatively new to the comic book industry. I think she, as an artist, is something to be celebrated. But in terms of her comic book chops, like, she's just mostly done covers. She just recently started doing panels. I feel like there's more to come from her. So there's more room for growth. But yeah, absolutely one of my favorites. And really, she could have been higher on this list, but I mean, this list is jam-packed with living legends and legends. So I didn't want to put her too high, because I think it's, in terms of seniority and youth, there's something to be served there. So, all right. But this Wonder Woman cover by her, just absolutely one of my favorite. She not only is Wonder Woman my favorite characters, Peach's rendition of her here is just incredible. With her hair, just the brush strokes for her hair. I mean, it's a motif, like the hair and the brush strokes. These sort of just splash lines here that look like, like a Rothko painting. It's just incredible. And again, the use of texture and shading and lighting, just incredible. This Wonder Woman variant is absolutely a favorite. All right, moving on to the number 7 artist on my list, Mike Zeck. Mike Zeck is a living legend. This happens to be like one of the best covers in my collection, as well as this. This is iconic. Just as like a pop art print, that I don't think this image is, in terms of comic books, gets any bigger than this one. The black suit, Spidey, the origin of the suit. Just a great background as well of all the characters. Mike Zeck man, he's got so many great covers and so many great books. Really, if I were to turn my focus to Mike Zeck, it would be like just kind of like in terms of the collection, just kind of collecting Jim Lee as well, which could be a very sort of daunting task. So we're going to keep, we're going to stay focused on Jim Lee and some of the other artists on this, but we'll pick up Mike Zeck here and there as well. Definitely there's a bunch of Zeck books that we're targeting. But yeah, I mean, just looking at like this cover here, just beautiful art. And this silhouette of black suit, just absolutely incredible. And yeah, this is why we collect comic books, right? Just to look at stuff like this, to look at beautiful Zeck art. I think I've got another Zeck piece here. I just sent in a Storm Shadow cover signed by Larry Hama. It's a beautiful cover of Storm Shadow as well. There's another Storm Shadow I have to pick up. That's another, I believe it's a Zeck cover as well. G.I. Joe 24, first Storm Shadow cover. These are things that I have to pick up, but that's not the Zeck book I want to pick up. We'll get to that when we come back down the list. All right, I guess number 6 on the list is John Romita Sr. And John Romita Sr. Spider-Man is the quintessential Spider-Man for me. Say what you will about all the other great Spider-Man artists that have done it. And there've been a lot. I mean, when you talk about just legacy runs, ASM has to be one of the longest running series of books. But yeah, I mean, I don't have a lot of Romita Sr. books. In fact, I've got, I think, maybe 3 total, or 4 total covers. So I definitely want to pick up more books, and there's some big ones that I want to pick up by Romita Sr. But as you all know, collect, his run on Spider-Man is up there in price. So even if we were to target stuff, we're looking at like mid to low grade books. And if we're going to pick up something kind of higher grade, we're paying, right? We're paying for those books. So it's been a bit of a challenge. But for example, I'm going to maybe focus on collecting more of these Spidey Super Story books. Got this one for $1 at half price books. I absolutely love this cover. This is as good as a cover as anything on ASM. It's not a key or anything, but in terms of the art, this Jaws homage, man, is that just absolutely nice. And again, this is probably my most favorite Romita book in the collection. I have 2 other Doc Ock covers. Those are great. But I think in terms of just cover art, this one probably is better. Not the higher value book, but in terms of just the cover art, this one I like better. All right, moving on. Number 5, right? Number 5 is George Perez. Now, George Perez, we lost him this year, and it's tough. It's tough to lose somebody who's so talented, and to lose them in the way that we did to cancer. And I just, just looking at this cover, you just realize how much talent this man possessed. I don't think there's not a person out there that can really draw something like this. Just incredibly detailed, ornate, and majestic of a superhero cover. Look at like every hero, every figure in here looks like a god, like has the stature and just everybody in this comic on this comic cover. And so for me, like this cover with all the DC heroes there is just my absolute favorite in the collection by him. Now he's in a lot of great books, and there are a lot of books that I don't have in the collection. I have a very meager George Perez book collection, but that's the great thing about this hobby. I have however many years into my retirement and till now in my retirement and even beyond to collect books and just pick up these legends, books of these by these legends. And so, yeah, definitely hoping to add more George Perez books to the collection. There's a lot to target, so we'll get to what some of those are. John Byrne. All of you know how much I love John Byrne. And this is definitely my favorite book that I have. This is currently at CGC, waiting to be graded. It's been there for 8 months now. The turnaround times at CGC have changed. When I first submitted the books, they were saying that turnaround times would be about 180 days. Okay. Now the turnaround times are 254 days at CCS. CCS turnaround times are 254 days. Now grading is another 260 or 80 days. So you're looking at like close to, well over a year, almost 2 years to get books. Now, by any service standard, meaning you pay for a service, there's nothing in this, there's no service on this planet that would require customers to wait more than, I would say 6 months for a service, right? I mean, just try to think of one where you'd pay and they said, okay, from the moment you paid, it would take 6 months for that service to be completed. That would just be a failure of a business if that was your business proposition. But that's what CZC is doing. And there's going to be now, for those that are fast, basically they're forcing you into a fast track. Because most people don't want to wait that long, right? I don't know anybody who wants to wait longer than 3 months for anything. But let alone 8 months for grading, 8 months for pressing, and then another 8 months for grading. So a total of 16 months. That's like a year and a quarter. But anyway, it is what it is. It's not like I can go and fast track things now, which is just ridiculous to have the fast track things. Even the fast tracks it's not like saving me that much time. We're still waiting like 3 to 4 months, right, for fast tracks. So just absolutely ridiculous. But anyway, this book is there and it's absolutely my favorite by John Byrne in the collection. It's Days of Future Past, Old Man Logan here in the corner. Just a beautiful cover. Oh, man, this tells it previews the book, so like it piques your interest, right? This thing just piques your interest. If you're reading X-Men and you see this cover and you're like, what? Everybody's dead? All the X-Men are either dead or captured. What's going on? And Wolverine's the only. You gotta read what's going on here. And this is just this standalone two issue story. 141, 142, probably one of the best X-Men stories. And again, definitely one of the best comic book covers by John Byrne. And he's done so many of them. And so collecting Jim Lee and John Byrne are like they're a chore because they've done so many great works and covers. So again, I'm slowly chipping away at John Byrne books as well, but so glad to have this. Now, again, just waiting to get my books back from CGC. I'm just going to stop there. I'm sure you hear the frustration in my voice. I just submitted 9 books. We'll kind of expand on that a little later. This is one of those books in that 9-book submission, The Silent Issue. So the number 3 artist on my list is the legendary Larry Hama. And Larry Hama, when he wrote The Silent Issue, this is a really interesting story. The reason it ended up being like no word bubbles or nothing like that is because this book had to be out in like 3 weeks. They had 3 weeks to publish this book. And he hadn't even started on anything yet. So he thought, okay, one way we could save time is just not to put in, lettering. So we'll take out all the word bubbles, take out all the lettering. And then I'll just work on, telling the story through visual panels. And he sold it to the editor, and they published this, and this just became instantly one of the best comic books of all time. And in my book, it is the best. It's just the best comic book of all time because of how original, innovative it is, how deep, how detailed the storytelling is through the panels. It's basically a 101 comic book 101 on how to tell, do panel storyboarding and storytelling just through visuals. So it's an absolute masterpiece in that. It's a master class on how to do that. But you get a whole book of that. It's a whole book telling you how to do it. And there haven't been too many attempts after this. So it's pretty much a standalone, the silent issues, standalone. Because Larry, it's one of those things where you do it so good, no one can really follow in your footsteps. It's like a mic drop. Like Larry Hama said, here's this thing, a mic drop. But to him, it was just it was like cutting and cheating corners to the storytelling, which I found very interesting. But yeah, what a legend, Larry Hama. And he has a signing event this August, and I'm debating whether to send the book into him or not. It won't be this book. I don't necessarily want my G.I. Joe silent issue signed by him, but I do want, if I pick up a first Storm Shadow cover, I may get that one signed by him. So we'll have to see. That means I'll have to pick up the book. So if I pick up the book, that'll definitely be impetus to send it in. But yeah, I do feel some urgency in terms of getting more books signed by him, or at least just engaging with him at some point. So yeah, Larry Hama, legend, created G.I. Joe. Now, Larry Hama really, was doing a lot of comic book art, interiors and whatnot, just really throughout early bronze through the copper. But then he wasn't really like one of those, I guess, he was just kind of those guys who just, was working in the background, not getting a lot of focus. But when he started G.I. Joe, oh my God, this will be his legacy, G.I. Joe. I mean, the reason everybody loves G.I. Joe is because, G.I. Joe wasn't anything before he did. There were action figures, just these these 12-inch action figures with limited, kung fu. They had kung fu grip or something like that, but they were just bulky, kind of not fun to play with toys. And then he created this entire universe of Cobra and G.I. Joe, all these amazing characters, and this incredible comic book to boot. And then he went on to, it really focused on writing. He sort of became more known for his writing than his art. But I want to say, man, Larry Hama's art, it's damn good. Okay, go check out his art. I mean, this covers any indication what he can do with a pen. Okay, bam, in your face. That is an amazing cover, and the interiors on this book. Hell yeah, it's just absolutely wonderful. So give props to Larry Hama. Definitely one of my all-time favorites, living legend. Okay, number 2 on my list, Neil Adams. And we lost Neil Adams as well this year. And his passing was also very unexpected, and not like an ideal situation. But yeah, I mean, I picked up some books recently, and it's just, again, I wasn't really focused on picking up books, but I'm trying to pick up more of his books now. Definitely have a few targeted. But yeah, my favorite book in the collection is this Superman cover, Action Comics 419. Just a beautiful cover by my absolute favorite book. Just such an iconic image too. And he gets so much props for his Batman books, and those are the ones that really have are the ones that retain a lot of value, because the Denny O'Neil Batman, that kind of really redefined the character, and it really set the tone for what was going on during the Bronze Age. So rightly so, I think Bronze Age Batman is just the book of the Bronze Age, to be honest. So yeah, this is a great book. Now, okay, we're gonna get to number 1, and all of you know who number 1 is. Jim Lee. And Jim Lee is, like, I could go into why I like Jim Lee, but it just really comes down to the cultural connection I have to his work. The fact that he was the first Korean American comic book artist right around when I was just getting into comic book collecting and books. Just was a huge, that was the big moment for me. Like, hey, there's somebody, because I didn't see a lot of Korean Americans in the spotlight growing up, but for someone to be really one of the best at what he does in a hobby that I love, and to have share that, again, that cultural connection with him, just made him absolutely like my favorite at a very young age. And that's just grown and gotten stronger over time. So as you know, I have books, again, these books have been there since December. I have a set that's been there since November, set that's been there since December. And according to the 254-day turnaround time, that means my books, if we were to go back 254 days from today, I would have just submitted books in early October. So early October, if I said submitted books, they would be getting around to pressing them now. And then I'd wait another 8 months from today, assuming the pressing got finished, I would be waiting another 260, 70 days for those books to be pressed. So another 8 months, 9 months out from now to get those books pressed, which is absolutely, again, ridiculous. But again, I'm waiting on, that's a total 15 books right now I'm waiting on from CGC. And we've been waiting for 6 of them, again, for like well over 7 months. Okay, the 2 books by Jim Lee that are my favorite in the collection, even if they weren't signed. I'm talking about like just images, right? Iconic images. These are 2 of my, and it's really one image. They're 2 books, but it's they're conjoined twins in terms of images. You can't really separate these two great covers, and it's the mirror covers. This, them being on their respective top of their respective skyscrapers. We have this stone architecture here, the gargoyle, just the dark night scenery here, and we have absolute sunlight, daytime metropolis, steel, modernity, truth, justice, and the American way staring back at you. And I just love the contrast, the poses, the cape work, just absolutely hands down the best. Hands down the best mic drop. Cover art mic drop, seriously. I'm surprised I've seen this cover homaged a few times, but I'm surprised it doesn't get done more often, to be honest. Again, I think people are sleeping on Jim Lee, it seems like. All these other, I guess people love Todd McFarlane, and there's a lot to love there in terms of his iconic, Spidey covers and Spider-Man 1 covers and Spawn covers and all that. That's great. That's wonderful, beautiful. But man, I don't think Todd holds a lot of my boy Jim. All right. I know that those number are fighting words for a lot of you, but that's my very strong opinion. Jim is the best. All right. Where are we going now? All right, we're gonna go back down this list. Now we're gonna focus on books that I don't have in the collection that I want by these artists. And so we're gonna look at some great covers and the ones that we're targeting for pickups. Okay, so let's start here with Jim Lee first. Justice League 7, the variant cover by Jim Lee. We want this book. I so want this book. And I can actually pick this up right now on eBay, or I can pick it up on Mercari. You get it for about $6 plus shipping, so about $10. I'm gonna try to find it in the wild for cheaper, and I'm hoping I can find it at Jeff's, because he has a lot of these kinds of. He's starting to have more variant covers and stuff in the shop now, so hopefully he has this one. It's just absolutely like they returned to. There was a stint there where they had Superman without the red underwear. They had him in like this blue, and it looked weird. He looked like he was naked, to be honest, with just no underwear, right? Just like he had this like just monochromatic suit, all blue, and it looked weird. And I've had many conversations with people about this. When they brought the red, underpants back, I was so happy. Like, just keep it, right? Keep it. Don't change. You don't need to change Superman. There's just like all these like pressure to give him all this like cool suits and stuff, and like a utility belt or something for like Batman and all this. Like, come on, Superman doesn't need any of that. He doesn't need to like change his suit every 4 months or 5 months. He's not Batman. He's not these other come and go type superheroes. He's Superman. I love that they brought this look back, and let's just keep the red underpants on Superman, okay? But absolutely beautiful book. Like, you can see from my love for this any type of Jim Lee image where Superman is heating up his heating the Vision up. When he's hitting the Vision up, like this one, like, oh shoot, I'm dead. That's the reaction you have, right? That's what's going on here. Boom. Just heat rate he just heat rate a wall, disintegrated a wall with his heat vision. He's coming after you. You thought you were safe, but all right. Enough of that. Going to the Neil Adams book that I want. This is the Neil Adams book that we want to add to the collection. Beautiful Superman 252. Oh, gorgeous wraparound cover. Just comic book cover 101. you can't get better than these kinds of covers, to be honest. Got so many just heroes in the background. You got your boy Superman with the red underpants in the foreground. Just beautiful, beautiful. All right, and the Larry Hama book we want to pick up, Red Sonja #1. Yeah, Red Sonja #1. This is, so again, like I said, Larry Hama hasn't done many covers, and he hasn't done a lot of interior work that's really kind of noted for. He helped a lot on a lot of books, but he didn't actually, pencil all that much. And so this is one of those rare exceptions where we get cover work by him. And yeah, beautiful portrayal of Red Sonja, she-devil with the sword. Great cover, just a beautiful cover. And I had we covered this on a recent video with Naman Young and a Red Sonja fan. And for me, this cover here captures who the character is. Just fierce intensity and fighting spirit. That's really, like, I know it's cliche, like Red Sonja, like her character is cliched in comic books almost. Like just this like woman warrior fight, way of the warrior type women. They're sort of archetypes for like, characters. But for me, that's what resonates with a character like this. Not that I collect Conan or that I really match with Conan. John Byrne, enough said. I don't even have to say it, explain why we want this book. It's just an absolutely beautiful negative space color book. And I know it's super popular right now. I don't think I'm gonna be able to pick this up in a while, to be honest. I think we're just gonna have to pony up for this book, pay up, and just spend what we need to. It's a beautiful copy. This is something I think I just got this image off of like eBay or somewhere, but beautiful book. John Byrne, man, it's just gorgeous to look at. Gorgeous to look at. Absolutely want to add this book. Absolutely want to add this book. Spectacular Spider-Man 101. All right, the George Perez book that we're targeting. There are a lot of George Perez books, but definitely this one. It's the key. It's the wonder. I mean, this is his gift to us all. George Perez's gift to everyone. This run of Wonder Woman, where he redefines the character, and just redefines everything about her, like her story, the cast of characters around her, and just the imagery. I think Wonder Woman here gets like a new lease on what she means to DC with this run. And you could not come up with a more iconic cover for a first book of a popular run than this one here. Just boom, that pose, and then all the detail of the characters and the architecture, and it's just giving you, he's just giving that story to you right there on a plate. Just eat it up, man. It's so good. Such good stuff. Loved it. And there are so many George Perez books that I want to pick up. His first work in comics, The Deathlock. That's actually a birthday book for me as well. It was published the month and year I was born. His first work in comics. So happy birthday to me. George Perez was my birthday present. So he got his start in comic books the same time I was born. So it's a cool fact. Okay, working our way back down the list, we've got John Romita Sr. Now, I'll admit this next book by John Romita Sr., I don't know when I'm going to pick it up. That's a big one. Daredevil, number 16. His first Spider-Man cover. His first Spider-Man work. So his first work on Spider-Man. And, I gotta say this image is not my favorite in terms of the Spider-Man image. He obviously gets better at drawing Spider-Man, but again, it's the first. It's this great cover where Daredevil's jumping off a building and Spider-Man's swinging, and they're kind of like midair. They're about to get into it. So, man, just a beautiful cover, and the way the colors really pop from the gray. So the red and the blue pop out of the gray. Just a great comic book cover there. Now, this is a pricey book, and I see it shooting up as well. And I had a chance to pick this up, so I'll tell you the story what happened. I even had a conversation with my wife. So basically, I was getting ready to submit, again, 9 books to CGC, which is a big order, quite a substantial dollar amount attached to that submission. And I said, hey, honey, there's another book, and I feel like it's a good investment. The grade is pretty good too, and so I figure I can get this. It's normally much higher than this price, but it's a good price. And again, if we get it, I know it'll go up in value. And I tried to have her meet me in the middle in terms of getting both the submission and this book. I was even like, I won't buy comics for for a year. If you allow me to get this book as well with mine. And she basically said, hey, look, I'm fine with you getting this book, but you've got this order, and it's really just too much. So you can either pick the submission, the CGC submission, or you can pick up this book. Just, you got to choose one of the two. And I thought that was fair. And so I was like, all right. So I really thought long and hard about which one to do. Because for me, I'm fine with having raw books, the 9 book submission I did. Those books I had raw for quite some time. And it's keeping them raw would have been, in terms of, they're still in my collection, and I would have added this amazing book to that. But ultimately I thought, you know what, let's just continue to save and see if we can get a better deal on this. And I have a sinking feeling that day will never come. Maybe I should have invested in this and then, submitted the books down the road. But I made the decision. Again, I went with CGC, the submission. And I'm just really frustrated with CGC right now, so it's just not feeling like I made the best decision. But again, there'll be opportunities to pick this up. But having said that, it is a pricey book. I'm going to have to spend hundreds to get this book. And it's not a book that's comes up all that often. So again, John Romita Sr.'s first Spider-Man, Daredevil 16, which is an absolute iconic book. Whether you collect John Romita Sr. or not, it's just an iconic book. Mike Zeck, enough said. Do I have to say more about this cover? I just showed you John Romita Sr.'s Daredevil, which is great. It's a great rendition. Versus Mike Zeck's Daredevil cover, Daredevil 241. Absolute classic, iconic cover by Zeck. It's such a beautiful cover. It hurts. It really hurts to look at it. I feel the same way about this and that earlier Spectacular Spider-Man, the Byrne Spider-Man Native Space. They're just such beautiful covers. It hurts to look at if it's not in your collection. I know a bunch of you feel me on that one, right? Just a beautiful Zek with the Daredevil sonar. You just scoping what's going on in the city. Hell's Kitchen, boom. Man, beautiful cover, beautiful art. Zach and Jensen, goodness there. Beautiful book. All right, who's next on the list? We're targeting a Peach Momoko book. All right, so we got some more. I want this book. I want this comic book right here. Psylocke cover of Marauders. I love Psylocke. I love Peach Momoko art. Hence, I love this book. Now, Peach Momoko has an even better Psylocke piece of work. But the art is not commissioned for comic books. It was commissioned for trading cards. And that's this image. This image is absolutely stunning. My goodness. And it's a card. So I've got to pick up this card, basically. I've got to pick up a comic book trading card because this image is just, it's blinding. It's blinding. Yeah, it's so blinding. Its beauty is so stunning, it's blinding. And that's hard to say for comic book art. I mean, there's a lot of iconic images and whatnot, but to look at an image like this and just be like, just be like absolutely speechless. You can tell when she did this for the comic book, she was really kind of like freestyling it and all that. But for this image, and again, it's the same character, but for this image, you can tell is more thoughtful. She spent more time on it, definitely more detailed in terms of the lines and the geometry of the anatomy and just the pose. God, it's just painful to look at. It's so beautiful. So yeah, we're picking up this card. Mark Silvestri, we're picking up his first cover in comic books, and that's King Conan number 13. Now he had actually a lot of great covers on this King Conan run. But again, I'm going to pick up his first, and that's number 13. In terms of the artwork, it's kind of like what a lot of first, covers or first pieces of artwork look like. It's definitely just kind of them just being told, being told what their editor kind of image they want. I don't know if he ended up saying this image. He's just trying to, I guess, paint the cover for the story, and that's what you get here. Conan find some kind of dinosaur-like creature on a makeshift hand glider. So not the best of covers, but again, it's his first, and definitely one we want to pick up. I'm just gonna enlarge it so we see. Okay, and then the last book, Michael Turner book. This is a Michael Turner book we want to pick up. And this is sort of like related to Michael Turner and Mark Silvestri, and that's Cyberforce number 9. So this is an iconic book for two reasons. It's a Mark Silvestri cover, first of all. Great image of Stryker there attacking. But it's also, in the book, we have the first interiors by Michael Turner. So it's his first work in comic books. That's what makes this book. Now, I'm hoping to pick this book up for a quarter in the quarter bins, because again, this is the kind of book you'd find in quarter bins, just these kinds of issues. But for people who know, like, hey, this is a one you have to keep your radar out for. It's the first Michael Turner book. We're definitely wanting to add this, as well as Michael Turner's cover. Again, this is a great picture of one of Stryker's arms got torn off. You see all the great detail in the cybernetic work on this arm. Just absolutely, what a debut cover. What a debut cover. Just beautiful rendition of this robotic arm. on display. Like, that's talent right there. So yeah, Codename Strike Force, number 14. Again, I didn't read a lot of these books back in the day. I really focused a lot on just maybe, I think the Image books I was reading at the time were things like Team 7, definitely, Wildcats. Anything related to Wildcats I was reading, Grifter, things of that nature. I did read some, like Gen 13 was another one I read. And I guess I did read a few like Strike Forces or something along those lines. But again, not all. I did read Cyberforce, a few Cyberforce. So that was about the extent of it. But man, this Michael Turner covers absolutely. So we're hoping to pick up this one. Again, Strike Force 14. I'm hoping to find it in the quarter bins. I'm also hoping to find this book in the quarter bins. If not the quarter bins, at least the dollar bins. I would, spend $1 on this book if I had to. Okay, so that is my list of books by the top 10 most favorite comic book artists whom I collect. And again, this list is very, it shifts. It's not like these artists are just absolutely, the 10 best it's not like it's fixed and forever. It's at the moment, these are the 10. Again, there are a lot of artists that I featured on my channel who I think are as noteworthy, as talented, as gifted, as like collecting worthy as this list. Artists like David Nakayama, like John Boy Myers, artists like Greg LaRocque. Everybody just there's so much talent in the comic book industry. It's hard to I think these lists are just, they don't really do anything except create YouTube content, to be honest. It's like, who cares who the best 10 are? Why do you have to define 10 or 25? It's just a list. But again, there are a lot of great artists out there. Bill included, I left him off the list, but man, in terms of beautiful, paint, images that just hurt because they're beautiful to look at. Hello. Yeah. This was a fun video, fun list, so I hope you enjoyed it. And again, I hope you had a great 4th of July weekend with your loved ones. Again, thank you as always for watching, and stay tuned for my 25-cent and dollar bin hunt. We're going to go to Ancient Comics, we're going to hit up Auburn Comics, we're going to hit up Mill Geek Comics. So we're talking about 25-cent bins, dollar bins, 50-cent bins, and a 33-cent bin. So 3 for $1 bin. That's coming up. So actually have quite a substantial amount of money now. I have with this month's budget and a little bit of the money I've saved up from last month, we have something like $33, maybe possibly $35 dollars to spend on these dollar books, 50-cent books, and 25-cent books. So I'm just really excited at what we can pick up. And I'm looking to spend as much of it as I can in the bargain bins. We're going to dig through all of them and just find out as much as we can, and really kind of do a quick assessment of what we have in terms of the value and things that maybe I could forego. And then once we get those books out of the way, we'll focus on maybe with what the remainder of that budget will focus on getting some higher price books that are on my want list. So we'll just see what that $35 comic book haul will look like. Right? It's going to be a fun day of, again, I've got one day to do this. I'm hitting up, as many, I'm going to try to, maybe I'll hit up Mill Geek on another day, maybe when I'm coming home from work or something, which is a little hard to do because they close up right around 5 when I end work. So it's been hard to do that, but we'll find a day where I can maybe take off work early and take some of those bins in the late afternoon. We'll see. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be one day to maybe hit up 2 shops, but it's going to be a lot of digging. It's going to be a busy day, and we're going to just try to pick up just what we can find. It's a very loose. It's an Unmyeong. It's seriously an Unmyeong, destiny, fate type comic book hunt. Meaning we don't know what we have, just a loose idea of what we want to add. Right? I have a list. I've taken a list, but that list is moot because you don't know what you get. We're very loose, but we do want to pick up books. So it's not like I'm going to be like I want to spend that money. Go in there. I have $35 burning in my pocket. I'm going to come out with books. So again, we'll just have to see how many books I pick up. It's going to be fun. I'm just getting excited thinking about it. I've been waiting for this day for almost a month. Ever since I've just been kind of like saving up money here and there to pick these books up. So it'll be nice to see. And again, kind of got caught up in my passion for what's coming up, but I'm very excited. Hope you guys are too. So stay tuned for that. And thanks for watching. See you in the next one.